Hey, Derek Snow here, the voice of Real Bois Mortier and Black Clover. That's right, the captain of the Aqua Deer Squad. Where is Charmy? Oh well. Welcome to Anime Egotists. I think it's time for a little bit of picture magic. What do you say? Have fun, guys.
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where I'm still shocked that people just were handed dual discs out for free in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, it seems like that technology would be very helpful, but they just kind of give them away for free for only playing children's card games.
Yeah, it's the sad truth. My name's Alex, and yes, when I go towards automatic doors, I do act like I'm using the Force.
Yeah, who doesn't? And I'm Richard.
That's correct. And when it comes to anime, much like anime, much like sitcoms, there are a lot of plot twists. Especially in anime. Hey, now, some of them aren't as iconic as Barney's real job, the delightful children from down the lane being part of Sector Z, or finding out that you're actually in the bad place, but there can still be some pretty awesome anime plot twists.
Yeah, and I think we both decided that there could be a whole bunch of interesting ones, and they can happen after thinking about it. A lot of times plot twists are considered the ending. It's a plot twist at the end. But looking back on all these, most of these happen like halfway through the series. So it's interesting in anime because they don't necessarily happen right at the very end. You actually can get some payoff from these plot twists.
That's right. And it's felt like a hot minute since we've actually done a list, so for those of you who've been missing it, here you go. But we're here to talk about some of our favorite anime plot twists. And yeah, we're going to talk about least favorite at some point too. But this is the positive video. Richard, you want to start us off?
Sure. So my first one takes place pretty early on, actually, in the series, now that I think about it. Aizen's betrayal in Bleach. So it's kind of a plot twist because earlier in this arc, you're shown that Aizen was like killed. He was one of the captains, and he was killed, and framing the Ichigo and his friends and all that. And then he turns out to actually have just faked his death to kind of put together everything he needs to run off and start his project with the Iran cars and all that. And it sets up the rest of the story pretty well and makes you realize that despite his original kind of caring demeanor towards his subordinates that he showed, he didn't care about them at all and just was like, and legit was just doing whatever he needed to act the part. And you kind of learn everything you need to know about him in a few minutes before he disappears for about 100 episodes, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that whole moment when he stabs that woman, it's like, oh God, he was he wasn't on our side, was he?
No, this was just a whole bunch of stuff that you just don't expect to happen right at this moment because you're just kind of expecting the fight to continue between like Ichigo and Rukia's brother and all that, and nope, we get a whole bunch of other things happening all at once. So it's just, as I said, I like this one setting up the rest of the story. It's a sudden plot twist in the middle of the story.
Yeah. I think here's the thing. When I was a kid, people did talk about Bleach. They talked about Bleach a good amount, but I feel like that's the moment where people are like, "Oh, dude, you called your friend up and you're like, dude, watch Bleach." Like, seriously? I stopped watching 10 episodes. Keep watching it.
Because I mean, unfortunately, it does lead to like the next arc being just a filler arc, but again, and I think I'm one of the few people who's a fan of that arc. So, but overall, I still think it's a good. We've set up our villain for the rest of for the next part of the story. I guess it continues beyond that, but
Hey, don't be too hard on yourself. I actually like the Makoto Beetle arc.
oh, look, sorry, it took me a minute to realize you weren't talking about the same arc.
Yeah, if you like one filler arc, I like the Makoto Beetle arc. Well, except the ending. But you and I both said that we both like filler sometimes.
Yeah, it can be good to allow characters to develop that don't necessarily get it in the actual original story. So if it's done well, it's done really well.
Exactly.
All right. But your first one?
All right. Gaara becomes Kazekage in Naruto Shippuden.
Okay, I can co-sign. I like that.
All right, so in all honesty, this plot twist kind of works better if you don't see the last filler of Naruto of the original Naruto series, because that's when, after Gaara's gone through his change, he talks about wanting to become Kazekage. But once Naruto comes back, Shikamaru asks him, "Hey, Naruto, what are you doing about the shooting exams? Everyone else has been promoted except for you." And then when he goes on to say, hey, even Neji, Kankuro, and Tamari all become Joni. Like, really? Well, what about Gaara? And then it cuts away. Hey, Gaara's in the village, and they're calling him Kazekage, and he's part of the meeting. For somebody who was a monster who didn't care about anybody besides himself, well, Gaara goes through a transformation thanks to Naruto, and becomes Kazekage and leads the village. And as much as Naruto wants to be happy for him, deep down, it kind of is tearing him apart because he's like, dang, how could he become a Kage before me? But it was a good way to start Shippuden in my eyes because it's like, oh, like everybody's actually progressing, and that's cool to see. But Gaara took the biggest leap from what we've seen.
Yeah, I can definitely co-sign it. It's you kind of see it in like the Sasuke retrieval arc, and I think he's in a couple filler arcs, if I remember correctly, between the end of Naruto and the start of Shippuden. So you get to know him a bit more there, and it feels like he's actually growing, becoming less of pretty much that monster, the weapon for the Sand Village to use, and becoming the well, eventually the point where he becomes the leader. And I mean, the fact that he's able to grow so much to become like the leader of the entire Allied Shinobi forces during the Fourth War, it's like it just it feels like a complete journey. He goes from that monster that people said he was to the hero and leader of the pretty much free people.
Yeah, and he turned the whole village around. Back then, no one wanted to go to the Sand Village, but now it's at the point where the village has turned around because of Gaara. Gaara. There are a lot of people like, wow, Gaara really inspired me, and there are also a lot of women who are like, wow, the Kazekage is so cool, and they want to get up on that. But even in one of the video games, Tamari writes a letter to Naruto saying, "Yeah, when I'm happy you're happy for Gaara being a Kage, but I thought you'd be jealous." And Naruto admits, "Yeah, I'm jealous. It ticks me off a little hit he got there, but he made it work. He's worked hard. He's earned this." It just shows that even with Naruto's jealousy, he couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, I think, as I said, it's a definitely an interesting way to start the second half of the series when we started Shippuden, because it was announced what, like very shortly after the start. I mean, is it in the first episode or is it in
It's
the?
I think it's like the first one or two episodes, right?
Yeah, because it's when he runs into Tamari with Shikamaru, right?
Yeah, and he also forgets Tamari's name, hilariously enough.
I mean, they really, if you think about it, they only met like twice in the entire series, and that was it up until that point. So
And she had the right to be offended. But anyways, Gar becoming Kazekage, it was a cool way to start off Shippuden, and I guess it technically helped everybody else since they were promoted too.
yeah. All right. So my next one. All right. So this is probably one of the biggest ending plot twists I think in anime and it's Lelouch's death at the end of Code Geass.
Uh-huh.
I it just kind of sets the tone. And again, I know that there's more to it. I know there's either a movie or a secondary series where he's apparently back alive, but I like to. I view that this is the end of it. He manages to defeat all his siblings and his father and mother and stop their plans from pretty much ruling the world with absolute power with the Gias, but knows that even as long as he lives, someone out there will be wanting to fight him, wanting to try to end the empire fully. So he orchestrates his own death with his best friend, acting as Zero, I think was his code name, wasn't it? And you get his death especially because technically he's gotten everything he wants. He's managed to end kind of the Civil War, and technically he's united the world under his own banner, but he's pretty much acting the dick. He's acting as his father pretty much was acting, and he just and with his death, he's able to bring peace to the world and allow his sister to take the throne as the kind queen or uh, kind empress. I don't know exactly what her title was at the end.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I can agree with that. We talked a little before, and I do kind of agree. It just makes more sense if he's just gone for the story, because that makes that plot twist all the more both cool and impactful, but also kind of sad because he wasn't always this horrible. It just got to the point where it's like it's either him or it's us.
And yeah, I haven't been able to bring up the courage to actually watch any of the sequel series or whatever it is, because just again, if they had maybe moved on and there had been something else, someone else using a Gias of some kind, and it being a separate story, maybe then it would have felt better. But having him come back, and I know it's probably because he was such a popular character, but I don't know, it feels like it ruins kind of the story, unfortunately, if you believe that part to be fully canon.
I can agree. I agree. But just looking at it in a vacuum, it is a really cool moment. It's a cool plot twist.
Especially because you get that moment of him thanking his friend for doing this despite everything. So
Yet the times we fight with each other, you're like, no, 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 don't do it. Pull a Lelouch on me. I'm like, I'm trying to be a good friend.
ah, but this is it. The death of Lelouch at the end of Code Geass, I feel like is a needed plot twist that kind of wraps everything up.
I can agree.
Uh, so your next one?
The Phantom Thieves trick Akechi, Persona 5.
Okay.
All right, so Akechi being the traitor in Persona 5, not really much of a plot twist. There were people I knew who were trying to make sense of it, like, oh, maybe Makoto's the traitor, or maybe it's Ryuji. I'm like, no, it's Akechi. I appreciate you trying to do the mental gymnastics, but it's Akechi. But when Joker ends up getting captured, Akechi says, I'm gonna go rescue him, only to betray him and kill Joker, presumably. And it's the news stations report the leader of the Phantom Thieves has committed suicide. The leader of the Phantom Thieves is gone, and the rest of the Phantom Thieves are freaking out over what they've heard. Oh, and Ryuji's the only person like, oh my god, we. And then he just cracks his mouth and says, "We got him," only to realize the Phantom Thieves set this whole thing up. They set Akechi up. Joker's not actually dead. It's I just love that even with all these multiple steps, it shows the good guys aren't stupid. Akechi's a genius, but the Phantom Thieves teamed up against him and they outsmarted him for a good chunk of the game or the anime. I don't know, it's just a nice moment of because the Phantom Thieves are not necessarily great at plans sometimes, but it's nice to see that this is the time they actually put their heads together and it made for a really effective moment.
Yeah, it kind of shows that they're as a team, they're better than Akechi working on his own to do this. Well, to do different things. I guess they're both working against each other. So
Yeah. And as much as Joker can be kind of a Gary Stu at times, being perfect at everything, I do appreciate how like this was a group effort, and you know for a fact he would not have been able to pull this off all by himself.
yeah, unfortunately, I mean they have to do that so that you can build your character in whatever way you want in the game, but it does feel a little off by comparison to like where everybody else stays completely the same and just gets slightly improvements as the story goes on.
Yeah. Yeah. And at that point they decide, oh well, we can't forgive you, Akechi. All right, see you in the next game.
Yeah, where now he's the mascot character. He randomly gets turned into a cat or a dog or a cute bird of some kind.
I kind of want to see that in all honesty.
Yeah, but I'll co-sign. I think I remember enjoying that, and it in the anime itself, it leads to him just pretty much kind of changing sides back and walking away to from them. So it's an interesting way. I haven't gotten to it in the game yet, so I'm see how it's different.
Yeah, thought about talking about Royal's plot twist, but it's kind of a mixed bag. The Royal plot twist is a little bit of a mixed bag.
Okay, we'll see how when I get there eventually if I have to ever have time to play it.
Eventually.
All right, so my next one.
Go ahead.
KoroSensei did not destroy the moon assassination classroom.
All right.
So from the pretty much episode 1, it's again they talk about how the class of failures. They're all have something wrong. They're socially have issues or aren't the smartest and have failing grades in this kind of prestigious high school. So they get put in this class that is the last chance, and they're also tasked with killing KoroSensei, who is believed to be an alien that destroyed the moon. Well, it's revealed that this mad scientist has been experimenting with, I believe it's antimatter, and he implanted it in a rat in space as the first experiment, and it exploded after a year and killed the moon pretty much. It left only the crescent as the only piece left. And as the story goes on, it's again revealed that KoroSensei, while he was not necessarily, well, he was a bad guy because he was an assassin for hire in his previous life, but he's grown himself, and thanks to the kindness of the female scientist who was the teacher of the class and worked at the lab that he was captured and put in. So you slowly get to learn that KoroSensei really is just he. In the end, he's not going to let himself explode and destroy the world. He's going to sacrifice himself to allow the humanity to go on. He wants to make a difference thanks to having fallen in love with this female scientist. So it's just this is kind of the turning point of the entire story.
Yeah, but did he make the right choice?
In the end, I mean, he taught all the students how to live better lives, how to stand up for themselves if they didn't know how to improve their grades, what they needed to do to learn. So,
But it's humanity.
that's kind of the whole story, though. Can humanity improve as a group? And they do.
Has humanity improved the last 20 something years you've been alive?
No, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't stop trying.
I guess that's a way of putting it. No, in all seriousness, this is really effective, especially when you watch the first few episodes and you just think to yourselves, "Oh, well, they have to kill this guy because otherwise, they're all dead." It's like, that's not completely how it works.
No, turning out that he's just kind of he in the end he knows he's going to sacrifice himself, but he just wants to help them. Is kind of the starting point is finding out that he wasn't the cause of the moon's destruction.
Yeah. Yeah, and it especially makes you feel all the more sympathetic because you thought he was a monster at first, and then you realize no, he didn't have anything to do with it.
No, then it's just again it makes you look back at some of the scenes where he did appear as a monster, where he especially when they talk about Nagisa attempting like a suicide bomber kind of thing, and it's just and he turns into a monster. It's like, but he's a human that's doing that. He's absolutely furious about someone pretty much trying to martyr themselves to stop the alien. So there's just so much stuff that you kind of learn, and it changes your view on who KoroSensei is as a whole.
Yeah, I can agree. It was a great plot twist.
Yeah. All right. So your next one?
All right. Just because it's a plot twist doesn't mean it's not funny. Nendo's mom looks exactly like Nendo in Psyche K.
Okay.
All right, so very early on, we meet Nendo, butt chin, mohawk. It's kind of hard to miss the guy. Hey, but we also learned that his father looked just like him. His father passed away saving a kid from a bus accident. And see, aim school, but we also learned that Nendo's mom has been dating, I guess the magician Psyche's friends with. And during the day of the magic show, we meet we see that the magician's looking for Nendo's mom. It's like, oh, no, that's not her. That's not her either. And Psyche's like, his ex-wife must be really pretty. Only to realize that Nendo has some strong genes because everybody in his family looks the same, and Nendo's mom looks just like Nendo.
Yeah, I remember. I think this episode when you were watching it, because I think this was one of the few that you had to pause it and just take a breath because you were not expecting her to be exactly like him again.
And they have the same voice. It's really messed up. Even Psyche's like you see the chin at first, you're like now Ricky, that's not a toy. And Psyche's like, you can't, no, this can't be right. Oh, and it shows her face, and Psyche's like, no, no. Oh, I'm convinced the writers are just doing this to give me a whiplash. This can't be right.
Yeah, I'll co-sign again. I vaguely remember you pausing it. I don't think you left the room on this one, but I think you paused it and just were like, I don't know how to feel about this.
I think I rewinded, got your attention, and pointed at the screen like, watch, hey Richard, watch this right. If I have to suffer, so do you.
I think that's what happened, and it was like, really, God. But yeah, it's kind of that stereotypical because I think he's actually making fun of the fact that a lot of people draw characters that look like their parents if they have parents in the series, and it's like, okay, let's do that. We already know his dad and him were pretty much twins. Now his mom is also that same exact look.
Yeah, and the worst part is people might be thinking, wait, if they look the exact same and their genes are, does that mean they're related? I'm like, no, there's just no, there's no, there's no in-universe explanation besides the writers being like, hey, Psyche, you like being a jerk? Well, this is what you get.
Nendo and his mom, Nendo.
Yeah, I'm horrified to see any future kids Nendo has, but the worst part is she's a really good mom, but he got to the point where even Kaido wasn't able to tell them apart. Like he was staring at Nendo's mom, and Psyche's like, Kaido, I know it's hard to stare, but like, please stop.
Oh god. Yeah, that would be an interesting a Psyche K series that takes place a couple like they finally figure out, I guess, how to get past the meteor, I think is the whole issue that ends the world.
They got past it.
Oh, okay. So we actually get to see it like a time skip where now we get them as like young adults instead or something, and it's like he's just randomly still hanging out with them even though pretends he hates them.
Yeah, I'd be cool with seeing it, but I'd also be a little scared because shippers scare me.
Yeah, that would be the problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah, tune in soon for our "What Would Our Characters in Psyche K Be Like" video. It'd be like 2 minutes long, in all honesty. But anyways, Nendo's mom being just as beautiful as he is.
All right. So my next one.
Please.
So this is one that it was kind of hinted at in some aspects, but overall it was still kind of a big deal when it was first revealed. Itachi betrayed his clan, not the village. Again, some people I know really don't like this. Some people really wanted Itachi to be a villain, from my understanding.
Not me.
But it just this was done so well because it shows that yes, the Uchihas were going to rebel against the village and try to take military control over the entire village. But then you have this darker element in Danzo and Root that is in the village that's like, we're protecting the village at all costs. You have to massacre everybody, the men, the women, the children, the dogs, the cats, everyone. Nothing survives in that compound, but we will let you keep your younger brother alive. That is the only one who's allowed to survive besides you. And then pretty much after the rest of the leadership finds out, they bury it. And it's like you learn that just how kind of corrupt the leadership is at the time of belief, with Danzo being able to manipulate things so much and still remain in power even after this.
they have Ibiki, who's the head of the torture division. Once again, with or without Danzo, the Leaf Village are not good people.
But it was just such a nice moment to when you realize that Itachi did all this to protect the village that he loved. And there's so many people like to speculate, like, okay, if Itachi had survived, maybe he would have been the Hokage instead of Kakashi or something. It's all interesting stuff to kind of feel about because just how much he was willing to sacrifice, and he was arguably the strongest ninja probably in the village at the time then.
Yeah, even there have been kind of theories though that like I feel like even Itachi has said, yeah, had I had to go up against Jiraiya, I would not have won. But that's like that's always something to think about. But I guess for me, the thing that always fascinates me is you go back and you rewatch the Sasuke retrieval arc. There are kind of seeds planted for that, like because they'll talk about how Itachi's butting heads with the rest of the clan, and you kind of see and sense, look, even if you don't love Itachi for what he did, it wasn't just mindless bloodshed. There was a reason to it.
Yeah, and as I said, it makes you hate Danzo that much more, who's introduced so late into the series, but he's given you realize how much of a hand he's had in all these little events throughout the series that have caused issues, like his ties to Orochimaru and his kind of evil science and stuff. You get this massacre, attempts at assassination, and all of that on in other villages. It's just pretty much Danzo becomes that the instigator of the cycle of hate for the both the Uchiha and like between the villages,
Yeah.
which he could have overdone or prevented by not ordering this to happen.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel in some cases that maybe Danzo should have been the main villain of the series because Sasuke killing him, while cathartic in a sense, you're kind of like, no, Danzo, you deserved worse.
It would have been interesting had he been maybe trying to like I'm trying to think about what he could do. Maybe he was trying to resurrect Madara to steal his uh Sharingan, whatever to
I don't know. That it's just an idea I tossed out there. Maybe it's a topic for another day, but look, just no promises.
yeah, it's again this plot twist sets everything up for the next like 4 or 5 arcs up until the war actually breaks out.
Yes.
All right. So your next one?
All right, my last one before honorable mentions.
Yep.
Alice is Masquerade and Masquerade is Alice from Bakugan.
All right.
All right, as a kid, I didn't see this coming. Hey, I probably should have, but just running it back a bit. Masquerade is the main villain of Bakugan. He's sending Bakugan to the Doom Dimension. He's killing them off. He seems to want absolute power for himself, himself, Naga, Halji, the works. But Alice is part of the Battle Brawlers, but she doesn't have any Bakugan, and she doesn't see, while she's super smart, she doesn't seem to like being involved with battles. Because we see moments of Masquerade in him, and we see that he battles Dan, and he interacts with the Brawlers, but Alice is never around. So at that point, you could maybe start to put the pieces together, but at the same time, and there are moments where it kind of separates, and it's like in one episode Masquerade has to battle an illusion of Alice. And it's like, oh, okay. Hey, they're going up against each other, only to realize in the end that Alice under control was actually Masquerade. Honestly, as now that I'm older, it's a lot easier to kind of see it coming. But back then, when you're a kid, it actually is a pretty well done plot twist. They don't bring up the idea that Alice is doing anything wrong until it gets closer and closer. It's like they do a good job of showing that Alice might be losing control. It's just a good, effective plot twist, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. Especially because they have a whole episode pretty early on in the series dedicated to her feeling like that they feel like she's the traitor right away. And I'm guessing at that point she doesn't realize or know that she's Masquerade, so she's just kind of uh like, so she doesn't believe it either, and is just tried to prove that she is on their side, which she is. It's just only half the time when she's not Masquerade.
Yeah, yeah. It especially because the plot twist is not, oh, Alice was the mole. It's for Masquerade. It's Alice is Masquerade. Like there's like the ante is up, and she's legitimately remorseful about it. And some of the brawlers are like, "Hey, it's cool." While people like Shun are kind of like, "I'm not." You can understand why he's not fully jumping in to defend her.
Yeah, because I mean, all the stuff that Masquerade's done up until that point, sending these Bakugan, especially some of the more not necessarily intelligent, but I guess intelligent ones that are the Guardian Bakugan for other people. So, and betraying his what are supposed to be his allies at different points. It's just it's a lot
Yeah.
that she's done.
But is it as effective now that I'm older? Not necessarily, but when I first watched the show, a lot of my friends and I could not believe it. Also, in the video game, Alice sells you Bakugan, so it's like, wait, is Masquerade sending these Bakugan to the Doom Dimension, bring them back, and then just making a profit? That's kind of twisted.
And genius at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, but I'd like to think I'd give Alice a hard time for it. Like we've talked about Alice before. I could put my foot down.
For at least a little while, but eventually I think you would forgive her for especially since she's not really in control of herself. So
Sure, sure, but I can put my foot down with I can put my foot down with Alice. I can tell her, hey, you messed up. Nothing. Move on. Honorable mentions. Go.
all right. So this is one that I took me a minute to actually think about for some reason. And it's only because of how I watch the series. I know some people, this is kind of this where people start. Goku is an alien, Dragon Ball Z.
Uh-huh.
So I know a lot of people, especially in the US, picked up pretty much when it became Dragon Ball Z, that because it looked flashier than it did when it was just Dragon Ball at the time. But as someone who watched it as the Adventure Dragon Ball series and before it changed into the fighting shonen that was Dragon Ball Z, this was a big jump. I mean, all of a sudden we've gone from Goku's finally managed to win the tournament and become the world's strongest fighter. He's saved the world from Piccolo and Piccolo Jr. Only to all of a sudden the rest of the galaxy opens up and he's an alien. His brother comes to recruit him and kidnaps his son, and it's just one thing after another. And it's all of a sudden, and when you think about it, it finally sets everything up perfectly for the rest of the series to be what Dragon Ball needed to become. And it was one of those great moments. I feel like in anime. So, but I just want to put it an honorable mention because again, as someone who watched Dragon Ball first, it was kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and especially in your case, when Piccolo shows up and says, "Hey, you're gonna need my help," like as somebody watching Dragon Ball, you would not think to yourself, "Oh, maybe Goku and Piccolo could team up." Like, so when you first see that, you're like, "What?"
Yeah, I it's just a lot different because I know, as I said, a lot of people I think our age picked up when Dragon Ball Z started, and again, you didn't get every episode in order. At that point because you're watching on Toonami most likely, and it was like, okay, you missed this week, but because you had to go somewhere with your parents, and now you're coming in and you missed this random story element.
I'll still never forgive my parents for deleting the episode of Naruto where Rock Lee got drunk and fought Kimimaru. I'm still holding that over their heads.
Even though you can watch it almost anywhere now, but
Yeah, yeah. Don't. Whose side are you on?
I know, but yeah, but that is one of the best episodes, so
Yeah.
it's
But
a little
I
annoying.
think the thing for me when it comes to that plot twist in particular is it's not necessarily it's out there, but it's not completely out there. He was born with a tail that can turn into a giant monkey. Him being an alien at that point, not the craziest thing in the world.
True, but again, there's also, I mean, there's hints that it could be a spiritual or subspecies thing because there's so many different species on this version of Earth, and So it does come out of a little. It's kind of all over the place with this, but it's still
They made it
it
work.
yeah, it sets up the rest of Dragon Ball Z pretty much to be the success that it was.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit of a side tangent. Apparently, in the new Dragon Ball Sparking Zero game, when Raditz shows up, you can either choose to go with Piccolo or you could just go alone, which I guess means go with Krillin. So, Sparking Zero is looking fun right now.
Yeah, from my understanding, it's going to have a whole bunch of different moments where you can change how the story progresses. So it's like, oh, this could be very interesting. I think I might even get it really like shortly after release if I eventually have time to play the games.
There's a good fair chance I might just pre-order it. It's like you want to do the 3 days early thing? Give me one more good trailer and I might have to bite that bullet.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting alternate storylines because we haven't gotten stuff like that since one of the. I mean, Tenkaichi did it, I think, a little bit, but
Yeah. Yeah, Xenoverse didn't. I don't want to be too hard on Xenoverse because I love Xenoverse, but even it didn't pull it off that well. But I can agree. Goku is an alien known as a Saiyan.
yeah. All right, your first honorable mention.
All right. General Rao or Shiba's backstory from Sandland.
Okay.
All right, so Sandland, I feel like I've talked about it maybe once on this channel before, but Sandland, the whole world is a desert. The whole world's a desert. They're trying to get more, and the Prince Beelzebub is trying to get water for him and the rest of his friends. And they come across a general named Rao, or his name now is Rao, but he used to be called Shiba. And he used to work for the king, who's a tyrannical, evil person who wants everything for himself. But at one point, they see that Rao has a picture of a beautiful woman in the tank he has. It's like, oh, who's this hot woman with you? Was she someone you're trying to ask out? Well, and throughout the story, while they're trying to get all the equipment and the rations they need, Rao admits that he used to be called General Shiba, and when they're asking, well, what's going on? Why is he such a big deal? Because everybody's after him. He used to work under the king, but he left because a blast from the tank he used ended up killing a lot of families, including his girlfriend. So after all of that, he realized just how horrible it is listening to evil dictators, and just the idea that he hurt people when there was a better way of going about things. So it kind of shapes him for the rest of the story because he's a much more intelligent, at times a little too serious, but kind-hearted person. And he regrets what he did, and I bet he wishes he could take it back, but just showing what he went through, and yes, he did something horrible, but the fact that that's what shaped him and he became a better person afterwards, I thought it was really interesting for like the third or fourth episode even.
I think I remember you talking about this series uh before, but it's been I think a little while. So it's one I don't know if how interested I am in it. Because it sounds like the opposite of Waterworld, which I know is an amazing movie. Hi, Reese.
Yeah, I like, yeah, yeah. But I will say the show's not nearly as comedic as I was expecting. I was expecting it to be closer to the hilarious side, and it has its funny moments. It's just less than I was expecting. But the storytelling's still fun.
All right. It sounds like it could be interesting. Again, I don't know. It'll be one that maybe I'll eventually watch or something.
Yeah, I believe it's on Disney Plus, and I believe it's been dubbed.
Okay. All right. So, my next honorable mention.
Please.
So, this is one that kind of came out. It's come out a few different times, but the original reveal was quite a while ago. Shigaraki was pretty much an innocent that was corrupted by All for One and My Hero. Uh, so it's revealed that he was chosen by All for One because he was the grandson of All Might's predecessor and to become a bad guy. But you get more as the story goes on. That kind of initial reveal is kind of the big shock. It's like, oh, he's related to the heroes, and it's kind of the dark side of heroing, where they because they're famous celebrities, sometimes they have to put their family second, unfortunately, and in order to save others. And you see that Shigaraki's dad resents his mother for that. He was placed in foster care at a young age, and then she went and got killed by All for One before Omae became a full-fledged hero, and then uh, he resents like everything that the hero society has now become because of it. And yeah, he's not fully. I don't want to say he's fully abusive, but he's angry, and he's a harsh disciplinarian. Bordering on abuse is kind of the, I guess, the style of where to put him, which leads to Shigaraki kind of having a mental break, and he's comforted by All for One, who transfers him to K. That's where he gets his power from, and it leads to him killing his family.
Is he the one? Is he the one with the uncontrollable powers that accidentally ends up killing people, including his pet?
Yes.
You
Yeah,
didn't think I remember? You didn't
guy.
think I remembered that?
Yeah, he's kind of the main bad guy. But as the series is coming to an end in the manga, and we're kind of entering the final arcs in the anime itself as well, it just, again, the initial plot twist is kind of where all this kind of gets set up when it's revealed that he's the grandson of, I believe her name is Shimaranetta, is All Might's predecessor. So we'll just go with that. And it leads to all these little reveals throughout the rest of the series that show just how much All for One sits behind the scenes and just manipulates things slightly. He gives someone a random quirk that isn't really suited for them, that allows them to kill their family, which results in them hating Hero Society because no one came to their rescue, and all this stuff. And it's just one thing after another allows him to build and manipulate the world around him.
Was he the guy who knocked on my door last week?
Probably.
Huh. I told him I'd think about it.
Yeah, that means he already owns you at this point, pretty much.
No. I got Itachi on speed dial. We're set.
But yeah, that's just kind of the setup for the rest of the series. So it's why I put it as an honorable mention.
Yeah. Even with the little I know, I feel like I know enough about this guy to the point where it's like, yeah, he's been instrumental, and the twist could be effective, even if like I said, I'm still not so keen on giving my hero a chance. I said, not yet, not yet.
But again, I understand after how much the fan base has kind of gone crazy over the last couple of years.
And it's
So
funny because now everybody's telling me it's terrible. And it's like my hero sucks now. Like, what happened to what happened to all that positivity like 3 years ago? What happened?
I don't know. I still enjoy it, so I'm gonna wait out until it finishes up. It'll probably have one more full season after this, and then it'll be
I
done.
need to get your take at some point for what would be the worst possible way to end it.
We'll see. I know I follow the manga at least somewhat, so I know kind of where we're at because we're kind of in the epilogue now. So
Gotcha, but I can co-sign.
all right, your next honorable mention.
All right. I know a lot of people think this is a really dramatic and cool plot twist. And while it is that for me, it's also the way it's handled is a little on the ridiculous side.
Okay.
All right. Reiner and Bertholdt are the armored and colossal titan, respectively. Attack on Titan.
All right. Yeah, I can.
All right, so the gang has dealt with the armored titan. The gang has dealt with the colossal titan. They've been responsible for the deaths of a lot of people they know and care about. Out to the point where they need to be stopped. The colossal titan in particular is seen as the main baddie for a good part of the series. Only to realize as they're on the wall, Reiner stops Eren and says, "Hey, Eren, there's something I have to tell you." And Eren's like, "What's up?" It's like, I'm the armor titan and Bertholdt's the colossal titan. You need to join up and come with us. And Bertholdt kind of looks like, what are you doing? This isn't part of the plan. And it's just handled so awkwardly, and Aaron's like, Reiner, are you okay? It's your injury must be messing with your head to the point where it almost doesn't feel like it's being taken seriously. It'd be like if someone's grandmother told them they were the colossal Titan, like, okay, grandma, love you too. Okay. Like, I know it's dramatic, and Mikasa trying to kill the both of them before they transform is a really powerful moment. And I understand that Reiner and Bertholdt are both people who they thought they could trust up before somewhat becoming good guys for later in the series. But I don't know. To me, it's just handled so ridiculously. It's just like, hey, like no stab in the back, no dramatic moment. Just hey, we're the Titans you guys been wanting to deal with. Our bad.
Yeah, especially because I mean, this has been pretty much implied that were the Titans from the start of the series. So they've been like since little kids, they were Titans, the Titan shifters, I guess is the right term, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I guess that's a way of putting it. And the thing is, it's
yeah,
kind of built up because you kind of see at times when a fight's about to go down, and you'll see images of one of them about to bite their thumb, like being ready to fight if something goes down. In all, if it was executed better, it could have been perfect. But to me, it's executed kind of on the goofy side, which kind of makes it okay. Like, hey, man, we were the ones who killed most of your family. We still good, or
you got to come
Berthold, you
work
want to
with
help me
us.
out?
We're gonna take over the rest. We got to go free our friend, the female Titan. I forgot her name.
Annie.
Yeah, and all that, and then you get because this is right before the big reveal of I think the Beast Titan, right?
Something
Or
like
the Beast Titan's been
there's
pretty involved in it.
my Attack on Titan knowledge is a little is still a little blurry. Ask Jabari.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch the series. Is the series done anime wise, or are we waiting for part
I
17 of
believe
the
so.
final
Yes.
season?
Just give me a third Attack on Titan game, and that's how I'll consume it.
This time you get to be a shifter or something?
I don't know. Just don't let my character die this time, or die.
Yeah. I'll co-sign. I remember it does feel a little off if you're taking the series very a lot more seriously in views, because I think that was the view I had on it, and then all of a sudden it's like this is just awkward how this was done, and I don't think I kept watching the anime after that point. So
They're like this confession was too stupid. Like I said though, I can't hate it because it's goofy enough to get a laugh from me, and I guess that's a good thing for me.
yeah, maybe if I go in with that mindset, it'll be better for me the next time I watch the
I
series.
gotta do what I gotta do to enjoy stuff. But what's your next one?
All right, so my last honorable mention, I have Sabito and Mama Makomo are already dead when they help Tanjiro in Demon Slayer. So when Tanjiro is training with his master to become a member of the Demon Slayer Corps, he's meets up with these two kids that are about the same age as him that help kind of train him and teach him what he needs to do to be able to wield the swords correctly and fight uh, demons. And then we get to the next arc, which is the Demon Slayer, I guess, selection arc, where they travel to this forest to uh, fight demons, and they have to survive for like 24 hours in the woods or something like that. And uh, he runs into this demon who was put there by his master, and so his master, or so this demon hunts down any of the master's students that get sent there and kills them, and killed both of Sabito and Makomo, and their spirits were pretty much had come down to help Tanjiro because they wanted someone to avenge them and the rest of the students. And you get a nice moment where they all kind of, once the demons killed, they all kind of stand there and observe as they finally fade out because they've been avenged finally. It's just a nice little moment early on in the series. It adds a more mystical element to the series that early on than just the demons being these monsters.
So is that how it works for everybody in Demon Slayer? Like they die, but they don't until they're avenged or they're at peace?
No, it's kind of a one-off thing. It implied that it was just one way of just that. Again, it's an honorable mention because it's not brought up too much. I think they mention it once more in the series, but other than that, it's not heavily focused on. And I think that there was supposed to be a more mystical element to it with this sort of thing.
Okay. Hey, it sounds like an interesting one. Even what, like, I have tons of friends who are Demon Slayer fans, but even I don't think I've heard of this moment when they talk about it.
Yeah, it's pretty early on because it's takes place in that first season, but before any of his uh travels as a demon slayer. But it's it's an interesting set of moments throughout the first like those early episodes.
Oh, all right. I can go sign. Sounds like an interesting plot twist.
All right, so your final honorable mention.
All right. Mei was working for Shala, soul eater not.
Okay.
All right, so Mei is while being very one of the kind-hearted protagonists of the series, she's also very ditzy. You could tell her your name and she would forget it in about 2 to 3 seconds. She's very forgetful, very ditzy. He doesn't really amount to much in some cases, but it's all revealed that she was kind of made that way in a sense. It turns out that she's been brainwashed by the main villain of the series, Shala Gorgon. Yeah, there's another evil hot Gorgon sister running around. I don't understand that. But at the same time, she's been a spy. She's been gathering information, but her memory's always been wiped because Shala's able to do that, and Shala's also brainwashing people. So obviously it's not Mei's fault. She doesn't want to hurt her friend, and but it's just so fascinating because the villain has been that proactive, and what seemed like a runaway gag of just oh just she's just forgetful actually kind of led to something. And it makes it all the more heartbreaking when she's fighting Sugumi and Anya, and all the more heartwarming when they finally get her back. Spoiler alert.
It sounds like an interesting one. Again, I don't because this is what the fourth Gorgon sister or something. Because I think there's another one that's uh
I think it's the third one.
I think I know that there's another one that's mentioned in, from my understanding, in the actual manga, but I don't know if it's the same one or not. But who knows? Because I can't keep straight which is canon anymore of everything Demon Slayer or not Demon Slayer, Soul Eater.
And stay tuned for the Demon Slayer Soul Eater crossover.
They both do their own animation style in the other's universe. It just looks so awkward.
I feel like they'd still find a way to make it look cool, but I don't know. Like it just made the villain to me all that, but while dangerous, all the more kind of scummy because you took this girl and turned her against her friends, and they didn't even know about it for the longest time. It's an honorable mention because the episode itself that happens in, like, there are parts of it that are really good, but there are also a part that's I don't know. There's also parts of it that kind of makes it a little head scratching at times, but it's still an effective plot twist.
All right. Yeah, I think it would be interesting. It feels like something that the original anime could have done as well. That with one of like maybe those uh the three kind of side characters that we only get a few action shots of. I think could have been interesting having one of them be controlled, so we get a bit more from them.
Yeah, yeah. But as for Shala Gorgon, not nearly as cool as Medusa, but I like her more than Arachnite because yeah, then again the bar wasn't that high for her.
Very true. I'd be interested to see get a whole kind of picture because of this entire universe because I'm still trying to figure out how Fire Force I think is the prequel of Soul Eater, and again I don't see how it all fits, but again I need to watch I guess that all the Fire Force to fully understand that.
They
So
just keep going backwards at this point. I don't understand the logic behind that, but they're the ones making money off of it, not me. So what do I know?
exactly. All right. So my final one,
Please.
So I think you probably got a good idea of what my final one is.
No,
Ace's death in One Piece.
no, I wasn't. I actually did not think they were going to say that.
Oh, I'm pleasantly surprised. But again, this is one that it doesn't feel like a plot twist because of if you look at the whole arc as a whole. But when you look at like the last few episodes right before this, Luffy finally makes it up there and helps free Ace from his captivity, and you think the day is saved. It's going to be your kind of normal One Piece. No one's going to die. They're going to make it out and going to win the. I think it's the Paramount Wars, is what they call it, or the Marine Fort Battle, or whatever they call it. And all of a sudden, Luffy drops Ace's Beaver card, and the Admiral comes up behind him and is gonna pretty much just punch him through the chest and kill him. And Ace jumps in front of him and gets killed. It's like all this build up, all this stuff to save Ace's life, and Ace still sacrifices himself for Luffy, and he still dies. And again, some people, I guess, would probably feel that maybe that's a disappointing way to end it, but it shows just how dark this world actually can be, because it's one of the few times that we actually get to see a main character get killed on screen.
Then we see Luffy cry, and as sad as we want to feel for him, it's kind of hilarious to see his face because I love you, Luffy, but you look silly.
It's it's like the first real ugly cry you see in the entire series, and it is drawn in a really weird way because and and you get him still attacked. They evacuate him, and it leads to Whitebeard's death because he's attacked by the Blackbeard pirates. And it's just one thing after another gets set up, pretty much triggered by this event because Blackbeard is pretty much seeking revenge against everybody for killing what hit one of his captains and uh, someone who he views as a son because he treats his entire crew like they're his children.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, don't worry, Whitebeard will save the day. And it's like, oh, will does he? Does he actually? I don't want to talk.
He nope, he ends up. I mean, he dies on his feet, which is an awesome moment. But again, you get to see Luffy just how much Ace and Luffy cared for each other, as even though they weren't brothers, they were brothers pretty much in the end. And it's just
And then there's Sabo.
yeah. Again, I still don't know how to feel about Sabo fully because it feels like he should have been at least brought up before all this.
Yeah, it always bothered me that he looked so much like Sanji. Like that actively annoyed me as a kid.
I could again maybe if he had been kind of hinted at as the third brother in their group, and then more heavily than he was, and then like Ace tells Luffy that he's going to join Sabo uh, on his in the next life, and that they don't want him to join them for quite a while at this point. Maybe he would have added a bit more to make you feel for Sabo, especially when he's all of a sudden returns as a new alive.
To be fair, Ace was bleeding out. There was probably only so much he was able to say.
I know, but it's anime. They could have had a bit more. But again, I like this death because again, it changes how this entire series. Because again, no one at this point had been killed, as scratch it. No one as that was considered a main cast member had died, and he was pretty much a main cast member. He'd been in several arcs since the beginning of the series.
Yeah. I can co-sign though. Oh, it's not a plot. It's not like upon further reflection, it is a plot twist. I'm gonna be honest though, it's not. I didn't think this was the one. I didn't think you were gonna go with this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to put it on there because again, it's one of those moments because you feel because victory was within their grasp and it was snatched away at the last second.
And people wonder, are you guys ever gonna forgive Akainu? No.
No, he'll end up uh, as a casualty or imprisoned or something by the end of the series. Who knows how?
And the fans will probably be dancing on his grave.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if he has the exact same death as Ace, just it's Sabo punching him through the chest.
And Luffy still does the cry, but it's also laughter because it's like, yeah, you deserve it.
Yeah, so but yeah, Ace's death, it's the one I put on here. So your final one?
All right, my final best plot twist in anime. The last member of Universe 7's team is Frieza, Dragon Ball Super.
Okay.
Nobody gave this a chance. The second it was revealed that Boo could not compete in the Tournament of Power, everybody started having theories as to who it was going to be. Was it going to be Yamcha? Was it going to be, well, mainly the answers were leading to Yamcha. But Goku says, hey, let's add Frieza. He doesn't say let's get Frieza. He says let's ask Frieza. Like just, hey Frieza, you want to help? You want to hang out with us? You want to help us out? Oh, and it seems silly. Like how could we trust Frieza during this tournament? But it leads to being one of the most interesting points of the arc. Because we're always on our toes. Is Frieza going to betray Universe 7? What's going to happen with him? And it leads to a really interesting moment. Like when he saves when he helps Gohan get rid of another universe, or when he helps Gohan eliminate Dispo. Oh, when all those times he gives Goku energy, it was a really cool way of getting everybody's attention right before the biggest arc we've had in years.
Yeah, it kind of sets Frieza up as not an anti-hero, but I guess an anti-villain. He's a villain who will do the heroic thing to save the universe for himself, pretty much.
Yes. And it's not the same Frieza. He's actually grown to a tiny part of him, you could tell, kind of likes fighting alongside them. Like you could tell he's grown to respect the Z fighters. He calls Gohan by his name. He even calls Gohan leader at one point, like throughout the battle. Oh, look, I'm not saying Frieza should be a good guy. I'm not saying he should be invited to birthday parties. That's not his role. But the plot twist added so much to his character and so much to the arc itself. We know he's going back to wanting to rule the universe, but there's way more to it than previously.
Yeah. Again, I'd like to think of it as him thinking, if I lose, the universe will be destroyed. And if the universe is destroyed, that's where I keep my stuff, which is the universe. So he just wants to save the universe for himself, but that, as I said, makes him kind of that anti-villain. He's not a good guy, but he's doing something good to help himself.
Yeah, yeah. When he gives praise to the other it adds a layer of intrigue rather than just fight, fight, fight. Which we all love seeing the fights in Dragon Ball, but it added some tension and some intrigue to it.
Yeah, and you get to see. I think it's with Frost, him still use that devious side to pretend to betray his own universe to uh Universe 6, and then, but in all reality, he was faking it to like lower Frost's defenses more and more, so he could just throw him out of the ring by himself.
Yeah, and he tells Gohan, it's a good thing you were able to pick up on my plan. Otherwise, I would have killed you. He's not joking about that.
I can definitely agree, and I mean, there's some characters that would have been also kind of interesting at this plot point. I thinking of it like if Pycon had, because that's a filler arc if I remember correctly. So if that had become canon,
No, if it were Pycon, I would have lost my mind.
or the true strongest in the universe, what more it's more
Monaka?
Monaka. It
Well,
had actually been entered.
the tournament would have been over in a second. It was like, all right, bye guys, but oh, you're back. Yeah, we won. We had Monaka on our team.
Yeah, he punched the ground and everybody but him fell, but he couldn't fly. But he punched the ground and he just stood there and the ground fell away from him.
Oh, exactly. Of course, also Goku and Frieza teaming up to battle Jiren, even though I'm sure Bardock would have been thrilled to see that.
Yeah, there's some interesting, and again, knowing what we know now, there's other options that have since become available, such as Broly. It'd be interested to see what the next major fight tournament would be in the series, because now that Broly is officially a canon member of the universe instead
And
of just a movie character.
and people are getting power-ups. None of the humans, but people are getting power-ups.
Yeah, the one Namekian and all the Saiyans get a new power, and they each get something different because they're all different transformations.
I appreciate that, but good God, these Saiyans get a lot.
Yeah, I guess Frieza gets some as well, doesn't he?
We'll talk about that more another day. Hey, but anyways, Frieza joining the Tournament of Power. A lot of people saw it as a big nothing burger, but it ended up being one of the most interesting parts of Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah, I'll co-sign. I think that, again, I really enjoyed that, especially because you got him and Goku fighting right before the tournament to kind of, I don't know if it's to understand each other, if I remember correctly, or if, but there's just a whole bunch of interesting moments that lead into this tournament.
Exactly. Hey, but Frieza joining helped make the tournament special.
All right. I 100% agree.
All right. Are we ready to close out?
I believe we are.
All right. So, ladies, gentlemen, and others, what are some of your favorite plot twists in anime? They could be serious, they could be sad, they could be hilarious. Maybe think of ones that just sort of threw you for a loop. Just let us know.
Yeah, and do you hate any of our plot twists? Because, again, that list may be coming soon of worst plot twists in the animes. Do you think any of these belong on that instead? I can't imagine, but I could also see it happening.
I love being positive on this channel, but I have a rant stored up for that episode. But that's not this episode. This episode, just let us know what some of your favorite plot twists are. If you disagree with any of ours, just let us know, please.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate all the support.
That's correct. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you have been listening to Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.